Nvidia just announced a new variant of its H100, the H200, and did announce a quad version of its Grace Hopper super chip. The company shared a lot more information during the supercompute event today, and obviously, we're going to take a closer look at all that and what it means to rivals like AMD. So, let's take a closer look in today's episode. All right, so first, I want to start off with just price action. We can see Nvidia right now sitting at $486. We do have earnings coming or later this month, and obviously this is the best channel you're going to find any Nvidia stock news or any kind of semiconductor news. So we can see year to date the stock is up over 239%. We did see in late October stock started to pull back and almost and kind of reached the $400 price point, but we can see in just a matter of a few weeks things have turned around. Now let's take a closer look at a kind of a really quick roadmap the company shared. We can see right now we have the H200, the Grace Hopper 200. They're coming out right now. Later between 2024 and 2025, we are going to get the B100 and the GB200. So here they see three chips, one architecture: the GPU, the CPU plus GPU, and the DPU itself. We're expecting the Bluefield 4 later in 2025. The company recently released the Bluefield 3.
I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for their subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
So first, let's start off with the first news. Nvidia supercharges Hopper, the world's leading AI compute platform. So today, Nvidia announced the HGX H200. So the H200 Tensor Core GPU is an advanced version of the H100. The Nvidia H200 is actually the first GPU to offer HBM3E, faster, larger memory to fuel the acceleration of generative AI and large language models. NVIDIA does share that, hey, with the HBM3E, the NVIDIA H200 delivers 141 gigs of memory at 4.8 terabytes per second, nearly double the capacity and 2.4 times more bandwidth compared to its predecessor, the NVIDIA A100. So it's pretty interesting that they didn't compare it to the NVIDIA H100, but I do want to say when I first read this, I kind of thought, this doesn't bode too well for AMD. If we take a closer look, AMD stock today was down roughly 1.5%, sitting at 116. We can see the stock has done amazing. I really like this stock below 100. We kind of really talked about it in this show when it was under 100. But AMD, one of their prize kind of picks for the MI300 was that the MI300 was supposed to become with 192 gigs of memory. And that extra memory is so much helpful when training and inferencing large language models. So that was one of the selling points. So they do mention that H200 power systems from the world's leading server manufacturers and cloud server providers are expected to begin shipping in the second quarter of 2024. So I do believe this is one thing AMD does have on its side that is going to start shipping in the fourth quarter of this year. And I do believe this is going to create some form of pressure for AMD's solution. And we can see they do mention to create intelligence with generative AI and high performance computing applications, vast amount of data must be efficiently processed at high speed using large, fast GPU memory, and that's where kind of this Hopper 200 comes in. The company did mention that, hey, look, even when you compare it to our H100, when you start to look at those kind of large language models like Llama 2 that have over 70 billion parameters, the H200 is nearly doubling inferencing speed compared to the H100. So here we can see that when you're dealing with large language models with high parameters, high numbers of parameters, having more memory is on your side. And this is where the H200 is coming and is really trying to take AMD out of the race right off the bat. They do mention that the NVIDIA H200 will be available in their typical setups, either the 4 and 8-way configuration. And it's also available in the NVIDIA Grace Hopper 200 super chip that includes the HBM3 version. So great news here. Now, when we take a closer look at cloud servers, we do see all the cloud servers obviously lining up. Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and Oracle Cloud infrastructures will be among the first cloud server providers to deploy the H200 based instances starting next year. in addition to Nvidia's secret weapons, CoreWeave, Lambda, and Vulture. Now, if we take a closer look at the H100, we can see H100 normally came with roughly 800 gigs of memory. So definitely a big shift here. And while we can see the overall vast improvements in large language models with very, very high multi-billion parameters, right? And as we've seen before, large language models continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So there's definitely a market for something like this. Now, the second bit of news that they talk about was their Grace Hopper super chip. But before we go there, guys, I do want to say thank you for the support. The channel just hit 28,600. I'm trying to hit 30,000 by the end of the year. So if you haven't, make sure to hit the thumbs up. I do have semiconductor weekly exclusive videos on my membership. Click join to learn more. Check out fool.com/Jose for special offer, free newsletter at josenajarro.substack.com, and free semiconductor news at semiconductorwatch.com. Next, Nvidia talked about their Grace Hopper super chip, their CPU and GPU all in one, and how it is expected to power over 40 plus AI supercomputers across global research centers, system makers, and cloud providers. And this was pretty interesting, right? Because when we thought of Grace as the CPU, we didn't really see too much strength against AMD, against Intel, but it does seem like they're making some way here. And I think it's pretty interesting to see them continue to succeed in their CPU space as well. So NVIDIA is not only the king in the GPU market, but they are, in my opinion, a strong contender here in the CPU space as well. And one thing that I really do enjoy NVIDIA being in the CPU space is now as they continue to grow as a company, back then they were kind of limited to what kind of technology, what kind of systems maybe Intel and AMD were making, and they had to go with those systems, with those specs to some extent. Now with NVIDIA, they can continue to innovate, and who knows, maybe innovate a lot faster than AMD, than Intel in certain aspects in the CPU market, which can help them propel even faster in this AI space. So they do mention that dozens of new supercomputers for scientific computing will soon hop online, powered by NVIDIA's breakthrough Grace Hopper GH200. NVIDIA also announced that there's going to be numerous system worldwide, including NVIDIA also announced that Superchip is coming to more systems worldwide thanks to Dell Technologies, to HPE, to QCT, Lenovo, and Supermicro. Now they mentioned that the Grace Hopper is shipping globally and available in early access from cloud server providers. They do mention that selected cloud server providers like Lambda and Vulture are already allowing early access. It's pretty interesting that we're going to see no real big player here outside of Oracle has announced plans to offer the Grace Hopper 200 instances. CoreWeave, another kind of investee of NVIDIA, is expected to kind of have early availability starting Q1 of 2024. So I talked about it in the past a lot. I do believe Oracle has done really well at partnering up with NVIDIA. Finally, they did announce a new supercomputer powered by obviously Grace Hopper, and that is going to be Jupiter. Jupiter was announced, which launches a new class of supercomputers for AI-driven scientific breakthrough. And what's pretty interesting about this is going to debut the first NVIDIA Grace Hopper super chip with a quad node configuration. And this is insane. This supercomputer is going to have 24,000 NVIDIA Grace Hopper 200 super chips. And this new quad Grace Hopper 200 features an innovative node architecture with 288 ARM Neoverse cores. So definitely bodes well for ARM in general. So these are 4 Grace Hopper 200 processors are networked through high-speed NVIDIA NLink connection. The installation of the Jupiter system is expected to begin in 2024. So obviously a lot of great news for NVIDIA. I do believe they continue to remain the AI king here. We can see the stock price is definitely pretty excited right now. I didn't expect to get too much good new news here in NVIDIA. We got the Grace Hopper quad system. We got the H200. I wasn't expecting all that today, so pretty good for NVIDIA investors. For me, I'm excited. If this is what they shared in a supercomputer event where they normally don't share news products, I can't wait for their overall event, their NVIDIA events that happen later in January, I believe. I forget when it happens, but then they're going to showcase so many new products if this is just a preview. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.